Hello, everyone, and welcome to Creative Sessions, Wall Hangings from Nature. We'll be doing these creative sessions each Monday at 10 a.m. until the need for social distancing is over. You can sign up for creative sessions and all of our other programs at gildasclubqc.org/calendar. I'm Kelly Craft, Program Manager at Gildas Club Quad Cities, and we are live now with Pamela Crouch, Executive Director of Living Proof Exhibit. I'll let her take it away.
Thanks, Kelly. Well, this program today, making wall hangings out of sticks, should be taking place outdoors. But first of all, it's less than 50 degrees outside. And second, my internet just wouldn't take it. So we are back on my dining room table with a lovely plant growing out of my shoulder, but we're going to make this work somehow. I worked on my examples yesterday. And let me just tell you a couple of things. First, a confession. I've been trying to find things that we can do and create and just sort of escape for a little while. I've been trying to use materials that we have here at home, and walking around the inside of my house while I was walking around the outside of my house, it was like, oh, we had a windstorm. I have lots of sticks. What can we do with sticks? So yesterday I was working on my projects, and I was working on them and trying to figure out what were some of the best ways to do this and what materials could I use, how would I tie things together. And quite frankly, I really kind of forgot about everything else except focusing on making something really unique and beautiful. And that's this whole purpose of all of these sessions that we're doing. I am trying to use everything from nature with an understanding that we might have some limits. Let's just start with what I have. I have a red twig in my backyard. So before it flowered, I cut some branches. If you don't have a red twig, again, a lot of the windstorms and summer storms, spring storms that we've been having have knocked down quite a few branches. And those branches are going to be the old ones that are going to have really cool knots on them or strange, interesting little areas. Again, I'm just focused on my red twig today. I couldn't bring the whole tree inside. But you can see how interesting this is, it's branched off in different areas. So you'll probably find that you have branches in the backyard, in your stick pile. If you go for walks in nature, and if you're like me, I always pick things up off the ground. And so I carry along a little baggie. Be respectful, please, if you're walking in parks or you're walking in neighborhoods. Be respectful for what you do pick up. Some people might not appreciate it if you gather up all of their pine cones from the yard, but if they're in the street, it's probably okay. You know your neighborhood better than I do. I have sticks, and what I did yesterday was I laid everything out on my picnic table, and I started arranging the sticks in a way that I found interesting. I had one. I'll show you the finished product eventually. I had one that had a lot of branching on it, and then I lined up just a plain one, and then I lined up a straight one just to try to get an idea of what I wanted to do and how big I wanted it to be. Believe it or not, arranging sticks is very calming. It was something that I wasn't expecting, but a nice little side benefit of this project. What am I going to do? How am I going to tie these together? There are several options. I happen to have a lot of yarn, and this yarn is really interesting and fat and fuzzy. It's a little stretchy, so that became kind of a challenge, but it was a fun challenge. I also have twine. I'm a gardener, so I always have twine. Maybe you have some kind of rope at home from some different projects. Maybe you just have thick string or some certain threads. If you sew buttons on coats, that coat thread would be fine. Oh, look, I match. So I'll hold it over here. I have ribbon. Trying not to use anything synthetic, trying to find something that feels as natural as possible. So we'll start with this. This was really stretchy. So I only ended up being able to just tie knots. Literally just a simple knot. I ended up having to do a 2 or 3 knots. A single knot would fall off. So I just tied a knot at one end here. And I thought I'll just do it straight down on each side. So again, just tying more knots. I wasn't really worried about things dangling off. I'm going to attach other natural items to the knot, to the little dangles. That's an official term, I think. I don't know. So you can see so far it's like I'm just doing this. Now there are options. If you want to, you could zigzag. You could zag this up to here and then zag it down, tying a knot each time. But each time I tie a knot, I have to put it down on the ground. So you could do this if you want to make it more of a zigzag pattern. Or if you want, you can just tie it down the sides on both sides and then make it a straight pattern. You can also decide how close together do you want. I have a really strange idea that I'm going to be trying later, and that is to cut some of my pieces pretty short, line them all up, and see if I can make coasters out of sticks. By tying things together, I might have to try to wind them together. Some of you might know how to do macrame. You'll have much fancier knots than I do. If you do crochet, you'll have fancier knots too. Speaking of kind of fancy knots, something that would be fun, remember the friendship bracelets we used to make? We would just very simply make loops and then keep knotting. This is twine is a little thick to make a friendship bracelet out of, but I'm trying to give you the general idea that all you have to do is keep going through the loop and you get a really interesting braid. You can tie that braid on, you can attach your sticks through it, however you want to do this. Now, sticks tied together would be kind of boring. So what do? We're going to try to tie things onto those sticks. I keep reaching for things just so you know. I have lots of stuff over here. I have my hydrangea bushes. Haven't bloomed, but they bloom on old wood. So all winter, these dead pieces of flowers sit out there and they're dried and they're really interesting. So I can attach these to my my sticks that I have. If you went to the beach and collected seashells, do your seashells have holes in them? You can use thread. You see a little tiny hole in that one? There you go. You see it. You can use thread to attach these. You can attach them in a long line on your little stick project. I have, oh, this was interesting. I have thistles because I use a lot of natural pieces in my artwork. So I have thistles. I have a bag full of thistles. Silly me. I went to pull them out to put them on. Thistles really stick together. So they're interesting looking. They didn't quite work with it. Just telling you ahead of time in case you see something interesting like, ooh, thistles. Like, heads up, it'll be a little challenging. I have, you should see my studio. I have lots of stuff. I have interesting bark pieces. If you have a Dremel, you could go through this and hang them from each other. So have the base of the sticks, and then you could have pieces kind of hanging down from that. There's something you're probably thinking, oh my gosh, this doesn't seem like it's going to be something that's going to last forever. I'm spending a lot of time working on it. Yeah, there's something beautiful about creating something that is only going to be here briefly. It might not last forever, but in those brief moments that you're creating it and the time that it's going to last, there's beauty in that. So we're going to embrace sort of some of this unusual beauty that is going around. I found birch. It just peels off, so it was on the ground. This one has a hole already in it, so it is getting put on a hanger one of these times. I have, oh my goodness, I have dried roses. When you buy yourself roses, somebody buys you roses, keep them. You can do so many things with dried roses as far as an artwork. I'll show you this in a little bit, what I'm going to try to do with these guys. Oh, what else do I have? I have lavender. I have some dried lavender from my garden, and I have some moss and things. Yesterday, I was working on my piece. We're going to see about this. I started creating. This looks really wonky close up in here, but let me just tell you, it's going to look really fun on my door. and I might hang it on one of my garden fences. You can see I just tied everything together. It got a little bit challenging in some of the areas because they were too far apart. So then I just went and I grabbed some thyme and some rosemary. So this is fun. Some rosemary from my garden, so it smells delicious. I have my hydrangea that I tied on. I used the yarn. I think twine might be really good for this too. And then some of my pieces that are hanging down here, I don't have tiny pine cones. I have my pine cones are massive. So I just put buttons on the end. You could put seashells on the end of this, so it kind of dangles. I just wanted to show you kind of, dangling down here. And I made this pretty wide. One thing with willow or with like red twig or any of those, they bend. I did think about trying to make one and kind of curve it a little bit to see if I could make this into a wreath. I think I could. I think this is bendy enough even that I could attach pieces together and make it a wreath. That would be really kind of interesting. I also found this piece when I was cutting. Oh, this is going to be interesting. But if you look at this, it's already a swag. I mean, just naturally. So you can hang things and dangle things, put it up on your door, cut it to the right length. I didn't cut it, you can see it's really long. But I thought automatically, it's like, already, this is something that you would normally go out and buy some kind of a swag background. You've got it in your backyard. You've got it down the street. You've got it somewhere. If somebody is pruning trees, get first in line on that. Well, what else can we do with these sticks besides tie them together? I'm reaching. Oh my goodness. I had an old crocheted shawl. Don't ask me why I have it. I have no idea. I have a tendency to gather things that I think are interesting and I might use them later. So this stick I found really interesting. Oh, that's my beagle. By the way, the male must be here. So welcome. Cooper says hello. What I did with this was I started just kind of threading this through. You can see it. It's really kind of interesting. And then on this other side, this is pretty sturdy. This was the side that was closest to the trunk, so it's sturdy. I will take some twine and tie this on so it doesn't, otherwise it's going to slide right off. So it doesn't slide off this way. This side is bendy. Really good for wreaths, really hard to hang things from. So I'm going to just attach it. There's a couple of little pieces out here, so I'm going to just loop it through here. Again, I'll tie it on. And then I might just let some of that dangle. I think it's going to be really kind of an interesting thing to do. Remember those roses I was talking about? I'm going to cut them down to size. Now I have pruning scissors because, again, I'm a gardener. And what's nice about these is that there is a hole here, which is perfect for cutting twigs and roses. I'm going to just start putting these on here. I will probably put on some of my fresh herbs. I wintered my rosemary, so it's hanging in there pretty well. I will have to tie this on, but I can do little designs here. The seashells, if you have seashells, you can tie this on. Again, it's something unique. It is something that is specific to you and to your garden. And there's no limits to it. Whatever you can find in nature, nature is well, I was going to say it's grounding, and then I figured everybody would groan, but it really is grounding. It's a great place if you can get outside to just breathe. We're all feeling very cooped up, so it's great if we can get together. Sorry, if you can get together with nature, if you can get outside, if you can pick up sticks, if you can, again, remember if you went to the beach, just pull out those seashells and make something new out of them, and you're creating new memories as you're doing this. It is very calming. is very fun. And there's very few limits to this. I keep bending this because I'm like, oh, now I want to make a wreath. I want to make something. Is it going to be perfectly circular? It could be if I gather more than one stick together and bend them and tie them. It'll be similar to a grapevine wreath when I'm done with it. Or it can be an oval, and I could hang things from here, wrap twine around it, dangle things down from below. What dried flowers do you have? What herbs do you have? What pine cones do you have? Do you have pine cones? And if you don't have any of that, if you have paper, if you have sticks, if you don't have any of the other natural things, you have paper, you have some kind of thread or anything, you can always just create your own little designs. Paint them, color them. The kids can get involved. This is a great activity for kids in the first place. You're picking up sticks, it helps. And also just reminding them kind of what's out there in nature. And it's really fun to have a purpose. Who can collect, who can see what's on the nature trail? Do you see interesting leaves? Do you see interesting bark on the ground? What sticks look interesting? What can you do with that stick? Have those kind of conversations. If you don't have kids at home and you're just on your own and you're walking around your neighborhood and you're walking around, maybe you're able to get close to a nature trail or just even your own backyard if you have a lot of trees. It is really interesting and fun and relaxing to kind of reconnect with nature. And I think we all need to remember that right now. We all feel very stuck at home, stuck in our homes. So if you can get outside and then come back and make something, seriously, I made the first one just saying, what can I do with this? And I'm starting to add herbs and I'm adding all sorts of things. And then I found the stick that had an interesting shape to it. So then I'm like, oh, I want to make a different kind of a wall hanging. And now I'm thinking I want to make a wreath out of it. But there's really no right or wrong in doing this particular project. It's just reconnecting you to nature and kind of seeing what possibilities are out there. And just take care of yourself when you're doing it. Thanks, Kelly.
Thanks so much, Pamela, and we will see you next week.